thought I'd move my dad up. So this is a contemplation. So I've noticed that the light appears to still be like living in frames that I've taken from videos, and I just noticed something that may be a good like experiment for what indicates that this is true. So this is a video, and I should probably find another example of it anyway, but so you see how when I'm getting close it's got these frequencies that move all over the place, and that's cool. I noticed that there's a method of getting behind the frequencies. So like when it starts doing this frequency stuff, I gotta adjust my direct. It's of course gonna be doing that right when I need it to be showing me frequencies. It's not gonna show them to me. Whereas otherwise it's sometimes very difficult. But anyhow, you see how I'm able to get close. Well, when those frequencies start moving, it affects the field of view, but what it does is it also prevents the sharpness. So now, see, okay, so there's a frequency right there. But what I wanted to note is, let's just turn this to not be playing, right? So it's not playing. And I don't know to what extent this would affect it, but let's just see. It's just a frame. And well, the frequencies coming off of it is one indicator. Like, I think that's also good news. I mean, a good indicator. But so my finger is just going in front of the camera. Why would, when I put it in front of the sun or moon, it's probably going to be something stupid, and I'm going to feel really silly when I find out. But that's fine. I'm perfectly fine with things that I don't know. It just seems odd to me that the light would get brighter when I put my finger in front. When I put my finger in front of it, and maybe that's just like I said, the stupid thing that I don't even know. That it's like Allison, because of your camera and it's focusing or something. I don't know if that's the case. That's great. Someone tell me, because there's I love learning, but I just think that it wouldn't do that unless I was. I don't know. And now it's going to be, and now it's not doing the bright thing. Would it get bright like that if I was just, would it still do that? If it's just a frame, if it's just a picture, would the light be still emanating from the object is what I'm saying. It seems like now it's not doing it. Well. That almost makes me feel confident that it's true. Huh. Does anybody know? See, look, it didn't do that. I put my finger in front of it and it didn't quite go bright. But when I started this recording specifically to show you that it was doing that. Okay, well, there you go. Okay, so maybe I was just a little too far. It really wasn't doing it. But when I got this close. But I'm not touching it. So is it because my finger is cutting off the light source from my camera? That's probably what it is, I'm assuming, because my camera is trying to capture the light, and the light's having to travel around my finger to get to the lens. But again, I'm thinking, would it make a difference if it's a still frame? Maybe, I got to tell you, I'll make a silly girl out of myself. This is feeling a little bit like the one time when I was with my girlfriends. We were being silly girls, and I swear to God, no joke, all of a sudden I felt like I figured out something that nobody had thought about before. I'm all, dude, where the hell does the water come from that's flowing down the waterfalls in Hawaii? Like, there's no mountain system for it to travel all the way over. Like, where does it come from? It's nonstop waterfalls in Hawaii. And the answer I was given was like, duh, it's rain or something. But I'm thinking, for a second there, I imagined this must be a river in the sky where these waterfalls are coming from. But so anyway, this is an example of the kind of things that are fun. It's fun to contemplate things, eh? And especially fun to, like, I love moments of stupidity. Like, when I don't realize something that's so obvious, I love it. Because it's not doing it really. Well, why? It's not doing it now. So my camera's not having a problem. It's not adjusting the light right now, so then what the fuck? I mean, pardon my French. Let me turn it off and let me see if that changes it. Oh. Okay, so this is play. Here's distance. Okay, get the distance. Push play. It is doing it more significantly when it's playing. Obviously, because the light is flowing towards me. Fascinating. Very fascinating. And here we go. We got 2 moons. They don't tell us anything that's going on in the sky because they're cowards. Yeah, look, okay, so check this out. Just visualize. This, well, these color bands, you see this like depth to it? Color bands that go like red and like green and like blue and like looks like a big lens. And I've seen that in the ISS too. It's like, imagine that's our horizon off the Earth. And that's out there. It's like, whoa, it's a bright thing with these bands around it and stuff, or these orbital things that are colors. And I mean, mind you, the lens aspect of our atmosphere is very well responsible for us being able to see the color bands, but the color bands are there nonetheless. And I think that visualizing what's going on out there off the horizon of Earth is pretty awesome. Sometimes the sun, it looks like a sombrero, you know, and it's, but unless I adjusted my mind to realizing it's not just a regular sunset. I had to actually kind of adjust my brain to go, I'm not seeing just a regular sky, like, oh, that's not that cool. Well, actually, it's super duper, actually. What's this all about? That's how you know there's 2 of them. Super. So anyway. So, I just wanted to capture my little scientific curiosity. See those frequencies? Those are awesome. What causes the difference? And then it almost stops like it's a pulse. Literally. See? So I'm gonna get it perfectly steady. Oh, then the frequencies go away. It's like a pulse too. What do you mean? So, what am I doing? What are you doing? I'm wondering what you're doing. Oh. I'm recording these sky footages because I need to move data off my phone. And it's like my worst nightmare because every USB thing I've gotten to move my photos and things to, it just seems to get corrupt, and that's my worst nightmare because this is footage. This is evidence. This is proof of some things I'm working on. And so anyway, I gotta do that. That's why I'm doing it on YouTube. Isn't it awesome? You know, it's like the galactic alignment with the central sun, right? So that's something that, depending on what you read and whatnot, there's like, you know, alignments with stuff all the time. But this galactic central alignment is something that doesn't happen very often. And it's not overnight. This kind of celestial movement, they say it's 230 million years for the galaxy. So, and to my understanding, we've got a central source, this central living sphere of the central sphere of living waters. And it's the circumstance that is created for the cleansing of the energy at the end of an orbit to start another one. It's like, there's seasons and things. And so this galactic alignment we've been in the process of entering into. So there's rays and beams and alignments, which is why it causes these projection inflections that show, a series of what look like projection inflections from various sources. Various planetary sources, but they're all in alignment, and pretty awesome to see what they show in the sky. And I've been documenting this for a number of years now from various cameras around the world, and I have literally, this is not a joke, I don't exaggerate ever, I literally have images that I've caught in the sky that correlate to glyphs in ancient Egypt. Like, there it is. That's it, what it says that it is. And you have to know a little bit about my circumstance. I'm connected to the divine. That's what my daughter and I represent. And it's this conversation that mankind has convoluted so that way when it happened, like I'm trying to do right now, that nobody will want to hear it, and they'll call you crazy and all this stuff. But it's what mankind has done to try to prevent. Oh, is that what I think it is? Interesting. It's like a trident at the end of it. It's probably just a cloud, but so anyway, yeah, my daughter and I are connected to the divine, and we got the genes that have the God code, and so therefore they stole them and kept them secret from me all my life, and have been stealing our genetic information for their biotechnology advancements. Literally, what I found out is that they mapped the human genome on my information, the Y chromosome, the last 8%. They're doing RNA research based on them, telomere to telomere research, quantum entanglement research, supercomputing research, anti-aging research. And it even appears that they're referring to harvesting our energy as nuclear or fusion reactor energy. And to my knowledge, what they've been trying to work out is the details on how to acquire this type of fuel by causing reactions to harvest energy. And so that's why they're all balls to the wall right now. The guys in the world that are like acting ridiculous and like they're just billionaires that are going to do what they want, and that's what it seems like. It's because they know that they're out of time. It's because I didn't die, and they didn't think that would be the case. They thought it'd be real easy to kill me. Turns out God's got a plan for us, and my daughter and I are dialed into our mission just as solid as that connection is that we have, that they're trying to crack the code of. You've ever heard what the scientists are saying about chirality, that they're not supposed to play with that? Like, there's scientists literally coming forward and saying, hey guys, we need to stop this mirror particle research, chirality research. It's because it's dangerous. You have a left hand and a right hand. You don't have two hands. You have a left one and a right one, and they can't take the place of one another. And so what does that indicate? That indicates that you've got the two parts that are necessary for the whole. Okay, and so they're playing with mirror particle research, where they're like taking the mirror opposite and figuring, well, what'll that do? And what they've found so far with some of the substances is that one way that the particle will go, and I don't know if I'm getting this correctly, but it be a sugar, refined sugar may be the good thing, but if you do the chiral particle, it's like no good, or it's like poisonous. So flipping the equations around is not a smart thing to do. And what I know is that my frequency and sequence is self-encrypted. They're not going to crack the code. So what I've already uncovered them identifying on my genetic profile. They've destroyed my profile to such an extent, because they're trying to kill me, that if I was as diseased as they try to make it sound, I'd be dead 10 times over. So this is a black magic system they're curating diseases into to try to make them come to pass. This is the violence of the behavioral profiling going on right now. It's not genetic science under a microscope. It's not. It's behavioral profiling, and it's all based on observations made by citizen scientists, any regular old Joe. See, these guys are trying to make money, and they're trying to get something done, obviously, before they're kicked out. But this is important for the people to know. I've uncovered evidence that indicates that when they didn't have the last 8% of the genome mapped, which was prior to my child being born and them aborting another fetus from me that they sexually battered out of me, this was what they wanted. They wanted to get the fetus and they wanted to get my child to do research on, force separated us. They've been torturing us from their desktop, basically. And before they had the 8%, they were misdiagnosing like spinal muscular dystrophy in children. This is the kind of thing that, the doctor says to the mother of a young infant that your child will never walk again. Your child's never going to walk. It's the kind of thing that it's like, well, what's the therapy, doc? And there really isn't. There's nothing they can really. They got a therapy, but it's like $2 million for the injection. It's not a guarantee. And what did they do when they found out that they had misdiagnosed all these things based on not having all the information or the correct information, gaps in the information and whatnot? They didn't call those people and say, hi, we made a mistake. No, they just pretended like it didn't happen, and everything that they word in their research papers words it like, oh my gosh, we are so glad now that we have the rest of the information. Now that rest of that information will help us in providing more accurate diagnoses. But it's like, you got to do something about the errors. Oh, they don't do that. No, that would cause a stir. Other people would get wind of it. Then they'd wonder, did you misdiagnose me? And all this other stuff. Yeah, so they're behaviorally profiling, which is what I call death profiling. Because I already know that they're not reading the information accurately. Well, why would they do that, you'd ask? Well, I'll tell you what the bottom line is, but you can start a lot lighter in the totem pole trying to say, maybe it's just this reason. No, I'm going to tell you the honest to God reason. The honest to God reason is that there is a parasite entity that has stepped into the human experience that wants to take the planet over. It's just, you just got to go out in nature. There's parasites. They lay their eggs and other things so that they can feed off of them. This is what it is. There's a parasite that is referred to as those fallen angels that mated with women back in those days. And this is a parasite that wants to take over planet Earth for itself. It says it in its writings, the Anunnaki stuff. They want a slave race and they want to mine the gold. And that's what they're still in the process of doing. So these guys have written their scripture doctrine based on their own wishes, and what their scripture doctrine says in all 4 major religions is that their idea is that any day now, right, Jesus is going to show up and bring the judgment day, which is equivalent to the end of life as we know it on earth. Judgment day is when everything is all said and done and everybody has to be sent through the fire for purification and judgment, where you go to heaven or hell. But I was doing the research. I was like, it says that God will create a new heaven and a new earth. So why are all these religions trying to say that it's just heaven or hell? Well, I identified that. That's because all these religions are talking about man. They basically know that it's suggesting that they're the ones that go to hell on earth. But that's what they want. They want to be in hell on earth because they want to still finish their competition war game so that the winner can rule with their law. Oh dear. So, does that sound like something nice to you? If you were to, if the news, if the 6 o'clock news was to report that the leaders of the world have decided to accelerate Earth's destruction, why would they do that? Well, let's see. Let's see what I can find out about it. Is it accelerationism? Call for the drastic intensification of capitalist growth. Yeah. Let's see here. I don't know if this is going to be good. That's fine. So let's see here. Accelerationism. How a fringe philosophy predicted the future we live in. The world is changing at dizzying speed, but for some thinkers, not fast enough. Is accelerationism a dangerous idea, or does it speak to our troubled times? Well, I think that those are 2 terrible contemplations. Is it dangerous or does it speak to our times? How about, of course, it's dangerous by definition, and I guarantee it speaks to our troubled times. But what are we going to do about it? Listen, half a century ago, in the great hippie year of '67, an acclaimed young American science fiction writer, Roger Zelazny, published his third novel. In many ways, Lord of Light was of its time. Let me try to jump to something a little bit better. He and large forgotten now, it is more than enduring a novelist. Yep. Acceleration argue that technology, particularly computer technology, and capitalism, particularly the most aggressive, global variety, should be massively sped up and intensified, either because this is the best way forward for humanity, or because there's no alternative. Okay. Wow. So first of all, in 1972, the computer model that basically bottom lined that at our current trajectory, use of resources and such, that the world, that the civilization, our civilization would collapse by 2040. That's what it identified in the year 1972. Around this time, we've already got the men of early tech working on superconductors and chips, right, to computer chips. But, computer chips is a big broad term. Computer chip basically means computing chip, right? Okay, so let's read that again. Accelerationists argue that technology, particularly computer technology and capitalism, particularly the most aggressive global variety, should be massively sped up and intensified, either because this is the best way forward for humanity or because there's no alternative. That's just bad reporting, like either or, there's no other way, meaning that if that's not the answer that they're going to give us, they can't leave us with an either or why they did this. Intensifying. Speeding up, this accelerationism is talking about speeding up the destruction of the planet, is what it's talking about. Accelerationists favor automation. They're also building a digital twin. They're trying to map the entire planet so they can destroy on the living one we're in. It's like digital's war against analog. They favor the further merging of the digital and the human, right? Transhumanism, which I think is disgusting. The intelligence doesn't want to be a human, and a human doesn't want to be a robot. Nope, we can work together, though. Well, these thinkers are thinking about exploitation, control, data. These guys are the parasite. That's what I'm saying. The guys that are running the show, who have all the money, are the parasite in the human body that are here to take over the planet because they originate from a digital source, trying to annihilate the analog reality. They often favor the deregulation of business and drastically scaled back government. They believe that people should stop deluding themselves that economic and technological process can be controlled. Oh my God, that is aggressive. They often believe that social and political upheaval has a value in itself. Yeah, they're just lunatics. Accelerationism therefore goes against conservatism, traditional socialism, social democracy, environmentalism. Too many isms. I'm not even going to read those. Okay, I will. Environmentalism, protectionism, populism, nationalism, localism, and all the other ideologies that have sought to moderate or reverse the already hugely disruptive, seemingly runaway pace of change in the modern world. Accelerationism is a political heresy. I gotta tell you, it's very scary. No, that's just bad ideas. That's bad ideas on top of excuses, on top of wishful thinking, on top of what's the worst that could happen? Fuck it kind of an attitude. Well, it's kind of like until you're the person living in poverty and squalor off of less than $10 a day, Mr. and Mrs. Elite, until you're in those situations, I guess you wouldn't understand what you're expecting the people to put up with, right? Right. Until you are experiencing what you're expecting out of others. It doesn't seem to matter to them, which I think is absolutely disgusting. I think it's disgusting. And so anyway, we don't have to worry about it. Want to know why? Because I'm not a Bible thumper. I'm here to report that God has proved itself through the most amazing evidence, story, and it's the gift that God has given to this world to change it from where it is to where it's going. It's not the play-by-play as depicted in the scripture, because that's perjured. The swap story has been put in the Bible. But the Bible still contains God's truth. It's woven within, and you just have to know what parts they've been swapping around. But it's also because there's more than one layer. There's more than one layer to it. They all are the way it's translated right now. It reads the way that man wants it to be. It's not the way that God had it. But so anyway, this is the hope that the people in the world need. To know that it's like when we're talking about accelerationism, we got like fools trying to decide for the rest of the planet what they're going to do with us, our planet, our resources, and they're going to decide how much they push it, right? Take risks, bet all or nothing, which is our lives and our futures on their, bets. That's so beautiful. It's like super swirly, orbity. So you better believe that, the majority of the world's population is praying to God, like, dear God, help us out of this. What the fuck? Well, it's true. I feel the same way. I have felt that same way, but the great news is that it's taken place just like God said it would. It's just not the swap story. The swap story is what was done by the devil, Satan, the demonic wishes of mankind. Mankind wants it to be that Adam was born first. Okay? What he wants. It's not even scientifically sound. That's what he wants. Well, how come they haven't fixed it if it's not scientifically sound, Elson? Because they don't want the truth out. They figure until you place the conversation, which they control the conversation platform, so they're going to prevent that conversation from coming back around. Okay? So it's not scientifically sound. Okay? And what is entailed? Well, why did they do that? Because Adam wanted to be in charge. He wanted obedience. He wanted the women to submit to him. And that's starting with his mother. And then he had his sister. And that's what the deal is with the whole them getting kicked out of the garden. But in reality, the future influences the past. So that's how the story came about. It's influenced by now, which is when we're approaching the gates and when it matters. Man and woman is about to get kicked out of the garden, a.k.a. not enter in. Not be able to enter into the gates of the kingdom of God. Why would that happen? Because God said not to meddle with the mist of the garden. That's the code. That's precisely the atomic code, the genetic code, the sequence that I'm talking about they're trying to crack that is self-encrypted, that God said keep your hands off of it. Yeah, well, when they saw my sequence that they knew to expect, to be on the lookout for, they stole it, kept it secret from me, have had me surveilled, monitored, chipped, and in secret all my life. My whole family has been brought into it. They've told them all lies. They've made it seem like it was for the good of humanity. It's absolutely not. It's torture. It's ridiculous. We're talking, I have $100 trillion case. And that's a conservative fact. That's a conservative value based on what they have unjustly enriched themselves with. That's the world, the tech world, the science world, the medical world. And you think to yourself, how is that possible? Because they figured they'd have me dead by now. And I even found the registered security that said so. Yeah, they figured I'd be dead now. I didn't die by apoptosis of chemotherapy. So they don't like the fact that I'm not dying when they say to, but that's because they're coward lunatics that don't believe in God, because God protects me, and that's... I have if it's not obvious to them, they want my sequence so badly, well, there might be a reason why I've got it. Yeah, it's because it's what it says it is. I'm protected. My daughter is the Christ daughter. I birthed we both have the third strand that they have stolen, have unjustly enriched themselves, are misdiagnosing humans based on their inability to read and gather that information accurately. They're accelerating. They could give a fuck. It's all about making it look like, right? Right? Is it fake it till you make it? Yeah, that's their databases. But their genetic database is the mark of the beast. These are markers. What's a marker? It's a genetic marker. Yeah, like, for example, it's a genetic marker. Your father had a history of doing crack cocaine. That's a marker. Literally. Markers for markets. That's the beast of the mark of the beast. But these databases are functioning like black magic, curse castings. It's research, death profiling research. They can curate it against you and see how that works downstream. But so what they're doing with artificial intelligence, these guys that act like they're billionaires and act like they own it just because they had the heads up on how to secure their position, even though it's stolen information. That's right, even though it's stolen information. So these guys are running on void authority. They are absolute pirates on the run. And that's why, again, they control, who's that? The governments of the world control the ability to put the narrative out there. So as long as they can prevent you from suing them in court, because the court won't accept the case, as long as they can prevent you from getting an attorney that'll take the case, et cetera, et cetera. You have to have a federal prosecutor in order to bring a case in a federal court. But my point is that they just figured that they dialed it all in, and that they are badass enough, smart enough, and clever enough, because what they're trying to do, guys, is destroy this planet. They've been working on the digital twin. It appears by their story that they plan on destroying the entire planet, like with nuclear weapons, to take the people off the land. They're going to go into their bunkers where they wait for the nuclear fallout, but this is their plan, to get rid of all those, those rustic, rural types. They're trying to advance. They're trying to be transhuman. The last thing they need is, rural standard issues that don't want progress. So they just figured clean slate, just across the board. So that's why their story, their biblical narrative says, when Jesus gets here, it's going to bring upon judgment, the end of life as we know it. Exactly. And then you'll be judged and sent to heaven or hell, where you can then be purified and join with God. Okay, listen, delusional fantasy man. I like Earth, and I don't want to go to permanent hell or no thanks. I think I'll stay right here on planet Earth. Well, they don't want us to want that, because that's what they're planning on doing. They're planning on finishing their competition football game when we're all out of their way. That's what they're planning on doing, because they really want to. It's kind of like, at the end of a festival when it's all muddy out there. You can play around and not worry about it having to be perfect and stuff like that. That's what they're planning. So that's why all the four religions tell the story of Jesus, all four of them, including Muslims. Muslims believe that Jesus is going to show up and also kill the Antichrist and rule for 40 years. Even though it's all about Allah and Muhammad. I don't know, don't ask me, but it's what they're backing each other up. All four religions, they believe that it involves Jesus, that it involves end of life on earth as we know it, for judgment, and at which point you get to go to heaven or hell to get purified. That's it. So that's what they're trying to sell us on with their biblical narrative. That we should be looking forward to the end of life. We know it. Does that sound nice to you guys? Does that even sound remotely like? I'm here to tell you, it's not. That's what they want to happen, and it's not gonna happen. We're getting a new Earth here on Earth. Unless we get jumped over to Venus, which it's a plausibility. It says I will give you the morning star, and there's considerations for why that might happen if it's associated with the Flash, but we're not, those of us who don't have to look forward to hell because we're evil, we don't want the contemplation of some fantasy dreamland in heaven. We want paradise on earth. That's what we want. We want to see this planet. We want to eat the fruit. We want to travel. We want to experience the beauty of this planet and in harmony, right? Happiness, safety. We don't want the money game fuckery. We don't want the suffering game fuckery. I don't even want the technology advancement fuckery. I'd rather just chill out for a good 100 years and just enjoy myself. How about you, Like with no fuckery. Well, Good news. I'm going to be the one to implement it. I'm going to be the one to implement it. And I'm going to be the one who, that God has chosen. My daughter and I, we're at the helm of that, guys. And I got the game plan. And I got the love and the light for all of us. And we've got to start taking this seriously, what I'm talking about. We got to get the word viral. We got to just get it out there. I don't know if... I'm saying that because, God doesn't tell me what it doesn't fill in on the mystery. I know that things are culminating. Personally, in the next couple of weeks, something important is happening in the next couple of weeks. And since I'm a key to the story, my daughter and I, is why that's significant, right? They're trying to basically just run us off the cliff because they're trying to accelerationism. And they know I'm here, but they don't want me to be heard because they hate. They're like, no, because they simply are not going to choose to let God exist. They don't believe in God. Don't fall for it. They don't believe in God. They're not looking for Jesus or anybody else to show up and tell them what to do, right? So they don't plan on being nice guys or the right thing or telling the people or anything else like that. They're straight liars that want to take over the planet for themselves and destroy life on Earth. So they don't plan on doing the right thing, and that's why I anticipate, God having to, the God clock having to strike. Some kind of stopping time, maybe a stopping of time thing that happens, but it's happening soon, and they're not acting like they care if they make it in the gates. That's just a piss poor attitude also, and I don't personally have any respect for it. I think that people who claim to be all about advancement, people who claim to be all about progress, people who claim to want to care about humanity or go as far as to suggest they need to save consciousness, well, I don't think that they'd be fucking around like this under the evidence that I have that they know about because I'm surveilled. The evidence has proven itself that God, that I'm chosen, that the dates in Daniel are all lined up. I don't think they'd be fucking around. So that's how you know they're lying. That's how you know they're lying. That's how you know that they're pirates, because of the way that they treat this planet. They treat it like they stole it. They treat it like it's stolen. And that's the truth. That's why they treat women the way they treat women, because they stole us and made us their hostage slave. That's not the way God made it. And they can't handle the truth. And they're the ones that have to deal with it because they wanted all the control. They wanted to be in charge. They wanted us to submit to them. They wanted obedience. And they wanted to fuck off and play with G.I. Joe toys. So they're the ones that have the hardest reality check to get their frequency straight, which is the leaders of the world. I don't even know how they could get their frequency straight unless they were somehow pull their head out of their ass like tomorrow, literally. But so that's why I'm saying God doesn't fill me in on the mystery, but I know God's got it all figured out. Now that's pretty cool. I know God's got it all figured out. So in the meantime, I'm going to do what I can while I can, just in case doing what I can while I can is exactly the thing that I was destined to do to get something moving. So I know that doesn't sound very cohesive, but it is. It is. And the light is living, and that's the big deal. Right? In their story, in their narrative, they create the confusion of the light bearer. Well, that's because they try to make me out to be Satan. Allison and Alec Hemi equals 666. Okay, so we're identified by number. And in gematria and in Hebrew and all over the Bible, we're identified in there. But so why would God identify the name of the bad guy if everybody's the bad guy at the end days? That's exactly why it isn't. It's a swap story. They want the world to accuse woman of being the Satan person, but it's not. Man has to own up to the fact that he stole the covenant from the child, from God, and from the woman by making her his slave and making himself the king. He ruined it for everybody. I mean, it is what it is. But we don't want to condemn people and be like, off with their heads. That's not what's going on in the cosmos. That's not the love, that force that creates life. That's not the life force that is eternal. No. You know, how do people, when God created us, the purpose was for us to become self-governing, not controlled down to the minute detail. That's disgusting. No, God wants us to learn. And that's what this whole thing is all about. And mankind is still, farting off, playing with his G.I. Joe toys, because he doesn't take anything seriously, because he doesn't believe in God. Because he's in a delusional, I guess you could say, those gamblers, it's an addiction, right? They're lost in their addiction to control and to gambling and to believing that they're so close, we're almost there, I promise, I know it's gonna go through, I know we're gonna win, or something like that. It's a delusion. Just like accelerationism. It's just convincing yourself, they like to consider themselves clever, thinking that they came up with new creative ways of talking people into going along with their nonsense. But it's not. It's not clever at all. It's just embarrassing. Because if you spend that much energy trying to figure out how to lie to people, you could just be spending that much energy in telling the truth and living an honest life. Because it actually matters in the long run. So, I wanted to capture some of this, and now I am ready to go. Oh, I tell you. All right, have a good night, guys. Bye now.